Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Guri Singh. This evening, we warmly welcome the family of driver Stanley Charles Reginald Lusty, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans that have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to driver Stanley Charles Reginald Lusty. Stanley Lusty was born on the 31st of August, 1888 at Waverley, New South Wales. He was the third of 9 children born to Carter Charles William Lusty and Amy Baglin, and he grew up in Sydney. Little is known of his early life other than he attended Waverley Public School. At the outbreak of the First World War, Stanley was working as a salesman. He enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 13th of January, 1916. Allocated to the 22nd Reinforcements of the Army Service Corps with the rank of driver, Stanley Lusty went into camp at Liverpool for basic training. He embarked at Sydney on board the troop ship Border on the 17th of October 1916, arriving in England in early January. Lusty and thousands of other Australian soldiers were put through a regime of military training, kit inspections, drill, route marches, and field sports. After some months, Lusty was posted to the Australian Army Service Corps at Park House Camp near Tidworth. The role of the Service Corps was to provide supplies, transport and ration to troops, both in England and in France. Lusty's job was to care for the horses that were used to haul artillery and supply wagons. He dipped horses in sulfur baths to prevent mange. He ensured their stalls were clean and pest-free and assisted in moving horses to France. In November 1917, Lusty was transferred to the Artillery Brigade. Appointed as driver, his role was to drive a team of 6 horses to pull an 18-pounder field gun and its limbers. Lusty also had to undertake intensive training in the use of British 18-pounder field guns. With a range of almost 6 kilometers, these guns fired different types of ammunition, including high explosive fragmentation, shrapnel, gas, illumination, and armor-piercing projectiles. On the fighting front, the role of Field Artillery Brigade was to support the infantry. It was a dangerous occupation, and it attracted considerable attention from the enemy, who sought to neutralize the gun positions. After a fortnight of training as an artillery driver, Stanley Lusty proceeded overseas to France on the 23rd of November 1917. There, Lusty was taken on strength, joining his unit, the 6th Battery of the 2nd Field Artillery Brigade, the following week. His first action came a fortnight later when the battery moved the line into the Ypres sector. Throughout the winter and spring, the battery supported the infantry with covering barrages and directing fire onto enemy positions. By late July, they had moved south to the Somme sector and took part in the Battle of Amiens in early August. Following an advance at Rosières, where the enemy had fired gas shells, Lusty was suffering the effects of ingesting poisonous gas. On the 15th of August, feeling unwell, he went to see the battery medical officer. As he neared the dressing station, a shell landed near him and exploded. Lusty suffered devastating wounds, a shell fragment wound to the head, a fractured left arm, and his leg severed. He was taken immediately to the 3rd Australian Field Ambulance for treatment and transferred to the 48th Casualty Clearing Station. Upon arrival there, he was in grave condition. He could not be resuscitated, and he died. Stanley Lusty was 29 years old. Lusty was buried at the Dury Hospital Military Cemetery at Amiens. In 1928, his remains were exhumed and reinterred at Villers-Bretonneux Military Cemetery, where the Australian National Memorial stands. Today, Stanley Lusty rests there, beneath the inscription his parents chose for his headstone, "Beloved Son." At home in Sydney, his family placed in memoriam notices in the Sydney Morning Herald, one of which read, "Up there sometime, we will understand." Stanley Lusty's name is listed on the Waverley Soldiers' War Memorial in Sydney. It is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photo of his headstone is displayed today besides the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Driver Charles Reginald Lusty, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and for your continued support of the Memorials Development Project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.